If you hear nobody wants to work anymore, please call them out on their BS. I had a manager say that shit. I told him, that's not true, I can find you 5 people that are willing to work right now. But you can't pay them $8, gotta pay them $10, $11. He explained that the company can't afford that. And I told him, okay, but it's not that people don't want to work, you just won't pay enough for people to work. I did just that a few weeks ago. Guy used those exact words. My exact words were, do they not want to work, or do you not want to pay? And we got into a discussion. He was paying $12. I mentioned someone could work at Walmart, Wendy's, anywhere and get $15. He was actually surprised and promised to check into it. I think everyone still thinks it's 1987. If a business can't afford to pay people a living wage, it doesn't deserve to remain in business. When people say that, I literally cannot hold my tongue. I am often working face to face with clients, and when they say that, I call them on it, even though I know I could be jeopardizing my relationship with them. I can't help it. It's a compulsion, like I'm being triggered by those words. The company can't afford that. Yes, it can. You're lying. What you really mean is, if you pay people what they're worth, you won't get your fat ass bonus. You're paid extra to victimize your workers. Nobody wants to be exploited anymore sums it up nicely. The company sure seems to have endless profits for the people at the top. Maybe there's some cost savings that could be had there, instead of offering poverty wages to frontline workers. Even the most basic worker at Burger King produces $25 in value per hour, minimum. Where is all that value going? I think we all know. I had a company call me because they seen my resume online and that I was looking for work. They offered me a role starting at $19 an HR in my former trade that I had not worked in a few years. I let them know I was not interested due to the wage being ridiculously low. I started in that role as a trainee in 2008 for $22.50 an hour, and I don't live at home with my parents. Some companies are counting on people's desperation. I overheard a manager from a different department say it, and I couldn't help but say, or, is the manager that chases away all the new hires upset that power is trading hands? Single tier. We don't get along. Sounds like your boss is running a hobby. Ask him why more people have jobs than ever before? Bureau of Labor could enlightening him here. But don't you want to help us achieve our vision? What is the value of a life? With the future looking bleak, a lot of jobs in my experience asking for 12 hours a day, often at least 6 days a week. I can't justify giving my life to a company that would throw me away like trash once my body is used up. I'd rather die on the street than work for these greedy, heartless companies until I'm old just to get tossed out for a younger person who'll naively work for less. My opinion may not be popular, but that's where I've found myself. Company can't afford it, owners and executives don't want to lower profit margins. I'll never understand the problem with people wanting to be paid a livable wage. They act like we're asking for a 6-figure job to just land in our laps, when in reality we just want to be able to work, own a house and a vehicle without feeling like we'll have to work 80 hours a week just to make ends meet. $8. That's less than minimum wage in many states now. A lot of these places haven't caught on to the fact that wages are quickly making up for lost time after stagnating for a couple decades. The fight for $15 HR min wage started long enough ago that it would be $24 HR now. So yeah, that is crap. It is actually nobody wants to work for you anymore. I want to buy a new car for $10K, but no dealership is willing to sell me one at that price. I guess no one wants to sell cars anymore, man shrugging. Nobody wants to pay anymore. Nobody wants to work for the wage I'm willing to pay. Fixed that for you. $8.10 an hour is what you pay your neighbor's kid to rake your yard, not what you pay an adult at a business. I just say, no, nobody wants to be exploited anymore. This usually shuts people up. That's what I tell people, put another 5-10 an hour to the wage and people will be lining up. Anything lower than $20 is poverty wages. Ask them if they can live off of what they're willing to pay. Nobody wants to do anything else that's unrewarding either. I just give them the current unemployment statistics. I always finish their sentence for peanuts. Nobody wants to work for peanuts anymore. I wouldn't get out of bed for 10-11 and I live in one of the cheapest parts of the country. You should all be asking for $15 minimum. And I don't even know how you'd survive on that. Yup, employers complaining no one wants to work are offering too little. The truth is many of us can't afford to work for such a low wage, we wouldn't be able to cover our bills. It's entitlement. The owner class feel entitled to cheap labor. That's why big business is lobbying the government to change child labor laws and gut what little social safety net is left in America. Doing so will force more low-wage workers into the workforce. I'd actually agree with them, but tell them to finish the sentence. Nobody wants to work slave wages and non-existent benefits while CEOs and other high-level company officials bilk the company for compensation per year that most hard-working Americans will never make in their lifetime. If you depend on your employees living in poverty and need them to live paycheck to paycheck, fuck you. Nobody is owed labor. And I notice that more often than not, the people who love to lament that nobody wants to work anymore also have a total hard-on for unchecked capitalism. Capitalism is doing its job. You're not paying enough, therefore, you don't get labor. Nobody owes you their body to work, they're not slaves. And if your business cannot survive while paying people more than minimum wage but still poverty wages, then capitalism will do its job and your company will cease to exist. People used to tell me this in line for the register while I was working at a bookstore. I loved to gesture at the other cashiers and respond with "Everyone here is at work right now, so I'm not sure what you mean." Nobody wants to work what you're paying. Nobody wants to work anymore. Nobody wants to pay anymore. It's literally that simple. I'm tired of only one side of the argument getting all the press. Remember, the goal of any business is to provide value to the shareholders. People don't want to be exploited? How unreasonable. The response to these people is then, why is then unemployment rate the lowest it's been since the Johnson administration? I just punch them, then complain nobody wants to box anymore. Somebody needs to remind them that when demand is high for low-skilled workers and supply is low for low-skilled workers, that Econ 101 suggests wages should go up. Always loving capitalism until it's benefiting labor, then it can't be that it must be some culture war bullshit. Right up there with the government can't do anything right. You mean the same government that 1. Created the internet that all companies currently use to their advantage and charge us the taxpayers who funded it in the first place to use it. 2. Launched GPS satellites into space and let big companies use for a fraction of the price it cost taxpayers. 3. Built the roads the everyone, including big corporations, use for travel and shipping. 4. And in previous generations, educated the workforce that the companies relied on. $8 is in the United States. I legitimately don't want to work anymore and I'm a nobody, so they aren't wrong. I'm sick of working. I can't believe I have another 30 years of this shit. I tell people, you're right. I don't want to work for unlivable wages. I don't want to work for a company whose ad corporate dogs call me expendable to my face. I don't want to keep destroying my back and end up in another MRI for wages less than fast food. I don't want to work for a place where people immediately ask when I'm coming in after I call out saying I got into a car accident. Why would anyone want to work for a company like that? Nobody wants to work for starvation wages anymore. Ftfee.